Welcome to deck analysis and testing. Today we're looking at Harpies. Harpies were a tier 1 deck at one point because of its one-card starter and its ability to set free pass with Cyber Slash on field. But plenty of decks do that now. Just look at Live Twin casually putting up 5 disruptions on turn 1. What made Harpies stand out during its glory days is its ability to effortlessly eat back row, thanks to their field spell and Swallow's Nest to dodge back row. But even with all of their cards no longer limited right now, power creep has kinda killed this deck. Not to mention the nerf on the Hunting Ground skill that's still effective to this day. But anyway, we'll have a look at the cards. We have 2 copies of Oracle. This card can be special summoned from your hand if you control a level 5 or higher Harpy monster. And also, during a turn it's normal or special summoned, you can activate this effect. 2, during your end phase, add back a spell or trap that lists Harpy Lady Sisters from your graveyard back to your hand. Next is our main starter. Channeler can discard a Harpy card to special summon a Harpy monster from your deck in the face of defense, and also if you control a Harpy's pet dragon, this monster's level becomes 7, which doesn't come up, but I guess that's an effect that it has. Harpies, this card becomes Harpy Lady, of course, and also if it's normal summoned, you could target one winged beast monster you control other than this card, and one face-up monster your opponent controls, return both of them to your hand. And during your end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it's ended this turn, you could add one level 4 winged beast monster from your deck to your hand that has 1500 or less attack. So if you use it as a material for your extra deck summons, you could add back a monster for follow-up. Next is Perfumer. This is your main monster you're going to summon using your Channeler. This card, when normal special summoned, you can add a spell or trap that lists Harpy Lady Sisters, and also if you control a level 5 or higher Harpy monster when you activate this effect, you can add 2 instead. Next is 2 copies of Harpy Lady 1. This is a monster that is treated as the normal Harpy Lady, no matter in on field, graveyard, or anywhere, even in deck building. So you can't play more than 3 copies of any of the Harpy Ladies, 1, 2, or 3, because they're treated as the normal Harpy Lady. And it's the best one out of the 3 because it gives you a bit of attack boost. You could also play the Cyber Harpy Lady. That's also another good normal Harpy Lady that treats itself as Harpy Lady because it has the highest amount of attack. But I like 1 more because it gives all of your monsters attack boost. So it's usually going to be more value than your Cyber Harpy Lady, but you could theoretically play that as well. And finally, we have 1 Farfa, because we're playing a Fiend Briefing. For our spells, we're playing 1 copy of Harpy's Fed Rest. This card can return 3 Harpy monsters from a graveyard back to the deck, and then draw a card. And if you have a level 5 or higher Harpy monster, you draw 2. So that's basically Pot of Greed that is searchable as part of your combo. Next is Elegant Egotist. This is not a Harpy spell trap, but it is a spell trap that mentions Harpy Lady Sisters, so it's still searchable. And it allows us to summon a Harpy Lady from our deck if we control another Harpy Lady. So that's a really good way to extend. For our traps, we're playing 3 Fiend Briefing. This is basically IDP at home if you send Farfa. And of course, Cloak and Dagger. And actually this card has some kind of synergy with Cyber Slash because you could flip up Cloak and Dagger preemptively if your opponent tries to summon something, and you can proc the effect of Cyber Slash to immediately bounce a card back to the hand. For our extra deck, we're playing 2 Cyber Slash Harpy Lady. This is our main boss monster. It's important that it's a synchro monster because of your many effects that only trigger if you control a level 5 or higher Harpy monster. That's why even though we're not playing tuners, the design perspective of this deck is that it's still a synchro, so it technically has a level that's higher than 5, so it lets you use your card effects. So what it does is that it lets you synchro summon using Harpy Ladies as a tuner monster, and also when a spell trap card is activated while this card is on the field, you could also use this effect to bounce back a monster from the field back to the hand. and this effect can be chain blocked. So skilled opponents could chain monster effects on your own backcourt activations, and this will block the effect of Cyber Slash. But that's kind of an advanced play that only some decks are capable of doing, and only like skilled players know. So that's something to keep in mind. And next is our Xyz monsters. We're playing 2 copies of Ice to Beast Zerofin, 1 copy of Dark Rebellion, Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus that can be summoned using Dreadnought, and 1 copy of Pentastack as our singleton Link monster. For the skill, we could play a Harpies Hunting Ground, but because the skill got nerfed, it now requires you to only activate this card from your deck, which we're not playing Harpies Hunting Ground because it's from a different box. So we can't really use the skill. So instead we're playing Harpy's Last Will. This skill can be used if you have 4 or more Harpy cards in your graveyard, and it lets us add a Duster from outside our deck to your hand, which is pretty good. It's a board wipe for backwards, so it does come up. And one unfortunate thing about this skill is that you can only use this skill if you already have your graveyard set up, so you can't, pop your opponent's backward before you commit. So that's more of kind of a follow-up, or it's kind of a thing that you can do when you're going first to add to your hand in case your opponent tries to set free and pass. But yeah, that's probably the best skill we could use for this deck. And obviously you could use other generic skills like Tie That Binds or Life Point Boost, but I like Harpy's Last Will. I just love having Duster. Here is the expensive version of the deck. We are obviously playing more copies of Channeler and Perfumer because both cards are 1-card starters. We're only playing a single copy of Harpy Lady 1 and 1 copy of Elegant Egotist because we no longer need that many copies of Egotist to extend. And we're playing Swallow's Nest. This is like the entire reason this deck is good back in the day. Because this card allows us to tribute 1 phase of Wing Beast monster and then special summon another Wing Beast from your deck with the same level. It helps you get Channeler easier to your field, and also it helps you dodge your opponent's back row in case your opponent tries to negate your Channeler with something like an Effect Veiler. Next is the back row. We're playing Better Traps, obviously. I like Overroot, so I'm playing Overroot. And also this deck could use Red Rain, because Red Rain requires only a level 8 or higher Synchro monster. And Cyber Slash is a level 8 Synchro monster. So this deck could use Red Rain. But there is a problem with Red Rain, is that if your opponent Book of Moons your Cyber Slash, you're kinda left with nothing, because you need to have a phase of level 8 Synchro monster for this to work. But if your opponent doesn't have a Book of Moon, Red Rain is really strong. It banishes your opponent's entire board. And for the extra deck, we're just playing Butcher Xyz monsters. We're still playing 1 copy of Zerofin, but we're also playing Abyss Dweller, the Utopia package. Lightning Chidori is pretty good in this deck because we're playing Wind monsters, and Steel Swarm Roach for some kind of niche matchup. And for the skill, we're still playing Harpy's Last Will, and we could play a Hunting Ground as a skill because we are in fact playing the Field Explorer in our deck. But yeah, you could choose whichever skill you like more. But I will be using Harpy's Last Will in this deck. So it's time for the replays, and we are going first. Harpy is absolutely a going first deck, as it has always been. This deck is one of the earliest decks that is capable of having 1 monster disruption plus free set back row, so we are always wanting to go first if we could. We opened with Channeler, which is wonderful, but we also opened with the Spell, which is not ideal, because ideally we want to grab it using Perfumer that we will summon in the course of our combo, but we can still at least make a Cyber Slash plus 2 back row, and we will hopefully be able to play through whatever our opponent is going to put up on their field. Our opponent is playing a Raging Pendulum, which is worrying, because that deck is really good at OTKing, and they do have both scales, which means they can use their skill and they could pop 1 of a back row. They thankfully popped a Cloak and Dagger because Fiend Griefing is probably going to be a better disruption than Cloak in this scenario. Our opponent will be summoning their All Eyes from their extra deck and then summoning a whole bunch of other stuff, including another level 7 and 2 level 4s. We're going to feed Griefing, which is basically IDP at home. We're going to chain our Cyber Slash to return the high level monster, and then send a Farfa to banish our opponent's level 4 monsters so they can't make any Xyz monsters. So we should tribute summon their Pendulum, and they can barely attack over our monster. We draw a Harpy Lady, so that's a Harpy card, which is exactly what we need. We're going to summon our Oracle, so we grab back the spell in our end phase. We're going to make Dreadnought to beat over our opponent's low level monster, and then at the end of the battle phase, we're going to make a big boy. Super Quantum Mech Great Magnus is a really good card. It has a ton of attack and defense, and also it has a quick effect to spin back any card back to deck, which we'll do now. We'll just spin back the Oath Dragon so that he can't Pendulum summon. Actually, we ideally want to spin back the high scale because that's the high scales are more rare in Raging Pendulum decks, but because he activated the effect of Oath Dragon, if we spin back the Oath Dragon, we could prevent his effect from resolving. Our opponent somehow has a Drowning Mirror Force, so our monster will be gone, but our opponent can't Pendulum summon, and as long as he doesn't open with a low scale, we are still probably going to win. Our opponent draws a back row. It's Hallowed Life Barrier, so I guess they live one more turn. But at least we can make Cyber Slash, and because we added back this spell last time, we could use its effect this time and draw 2 cards. Pot of Greed, but we do not draw a single disruption. So hopefully, we're just hoping that our opponent doesn't open with a low scale, and they still don't, which is kind of a miracle. So we're still going to be able to pop up. We're going to make an Oracle to grab out a spell next turn, if there is a next turn, because we're just going to attack, and our opponent will be down to 0. Okay, so that was a intense game 1. This time we're going second, so hopefully our opponent doesn't have too many disruptions. We do not open with Channeler, which is kinda unfortunate, but we do have Perfumer, which is like our second best 1-card starter. Our opponent is playing Red Eyes, and they're going to make an Archfiend Black Skull Dragon, and they're going to set 1 and pass. We draw a Oracle, which is nice. We will use Perfumer to add an Egotist to our hand, and the Egotist will summon a Harpy Lady from our deck, which allows us to make a Cyber Slash Harpy Lady. We're going to set 2 and pass, but before we do that, we're going to also summon the Oracle, and the Oracle will add back the Egotist for next turn. Our opponent will draw a card, and during his battle phase, because he can't, he doesn't let us activate effects during the battle phase, we have to activate Cloak now, declaring Red Eyes Black Dragon, and then we'll use Cyber Slash to bounce back the fusion. On end phase, he's going to summon back the Red Eyes, which we declared the Red Eyes, so that's not a big deal. We'll attack. He has a Magical Cylinder, but that's fine. We can use Cyber Slash effect to bounce back the monster so that he can't deal effect damage, but he still has a Sakuretsu armor, which is fine. We'll attack for quite a bit of damage, leaving him at 100, so we will be able to close the game during our next turn. So it is time for game 3, and we're playing the expensive version of this deck. We are going first, which is always good, and again, we open with Channeler plus Rest, and no other Harpy cards, so unfortunately, going to have to pitch the spell again, which is not something that you want to do. But we still could add back the spell on our end phase, so we could use it during our next turn. Our opponent is not going to do anything. Okay, we're going to attack. He does have a Kiteroid, so it's not immediately the end of the game. He's still going to pass. What is he doing? We're going to summon a monster, Perfumer, add Egotist plus a Harpies Hunting Ground because we have a level 5 or higher Harpy monster. We're going to Egotist summon a Harpy Lady 1 and try to get in for as much damage as we can. Our opponent has a Kiteroid, so at least he won't lose this turn. But joke's on you, we have a copy of Swallow's Nest, so we can activate this during the battle phase to distribute the monster that already attacked to make an Oracle. But he has a second Kiteroid. How many Kiteroids do you have? We have an Oracle to add back this spell from our graveyard, at least. And our opponent will finally start playing the game. He will MST popping our own macro, rather. And he's actually playing S4s, which is interesting. And he can finally make 2 monsters on field. And I think he's just hoping that he won't lose his turn. We will be able to overrate his other back row. And he has a Crackdown, which doesn't really do anything when we send it to the graveyard. So we're going to send the Crackdown and revive his Kyroid in face down. And then when we summon a Harpy, the field spell will activate its mandatory effect to pop itself. But we should be able to win because we can just make the Sinker and attack his monster. But I guess before we do that, we can draw a couple of cards as well. And also we have Duster in case he has more backrow, I guess. But opponent sees that he's going to die and he's going to scoop before he can deal the damage.